let us now jump over to the Bellator side of the sport. Bellator 282, Mousasi versus Eblen, coming up this weekend, going down at Mohegan Sun in Uncasville, Connecticut, as Bellator is wont to do. Before we jump into the main three fights that we are going to talk about, any honorable mentions, guys, on this Bellator card that you want our listeners and viewers to be aware of?
Well, Kat Zingano will be fighting that night. It's always interesting to see what Kat Zingano brings to the table. She'll be fighting a girl named Pat Sorensen. I don't know much about her, but Kat Zingano for me is always 70, 85% of the time a good time to watch.
Yeah, Kat needs to win that fight. I think Pam is kind of older on the way out at this point. Granted, Kat is getting older too, but if there's any chance of us getting a Kat versus Cyborg matchup, she is going to need to get the job done here and probably look good doing it. So hopefully she does.
Pam Sorensen is 3 years younger than Kat Zingano.
Yeah, but she's 3 years washed-er than Kat Zingano.
Damn.
I actually thought they were like same age, but yeah.
Damn.
Okay, that being said, let us...
I got more.
Oh, please go right ahead.
This is actually a super deep Bellator card. Like, you want to watch this thing. They have Sabah Hamasi, who is never not in a banger, fighting on this card against Macon Mendonca, I think is how you say his last name, who also scraps. So that should be a brawl. Anatoly Tokov, who I always kind of point out is the obvious second best middleweight in Bellator, yet they just continually ignore him and put him in fights with random guys. I guess maybe they feel like the casual audience hasn't seen him enough. So he's fighting another random guy, and he is going to absolutely win again. And Brennan Ward, who we talked about a lot when he made his comeback, is on this card, hopefully getting another knockout. He is also fighting someone who's less of a random than Tokov's opponent, but I think Ward will likely get it done. And then the one fight that is a very competitive one before we get into the three we're going to talk about is that Brent Primus is fighting Alexander Shabley. I always forget how you say his last name, even though I've watched numerous fights of his now. I think it's Shabley. But that's a good fight. He has looked really good in Bellator so far. He does everything well. He chains his striking and his wrestling. And he knows what he's going to get from Primus, which is that he's going to try to out-grapple him like he does to everyone. So the question is just, can his wrestling deter Primus's enough? I kind of think it can. And he's the quicker fighter, more athletic fighter. So it'll be really interesting to see if he can beat Brent Primus, because if he can, he is going to suddenly be very close to a title shot in Bellator. So I'm looking forward to that fight.
Okay, that being said, now we may continue. In the bantamweight division, one of the many Magos of the sport, but a man who gets two of those spots, Magomedov, takes on Enrique Barzola in the bantamweight division of Bellator. Omar, take it first. What's your take on this fight?
Pardon.
So Enrique Barzola is the kind of guy that's going to want to scrap with you standing up, and Magomedov is the kind of guy that wants you to do that so he can take you down and destroy you. I feel like this is stylistically probably the worst matchup Enrique Barzola could have for himself. So I'm going to go with Magomedov by destructive decision.
Okay, Mark.
So this one and the next one we're going to talk about are the two quarterfinal fights on the other side. We already have a semi between Rafion Stotts and Patchy Mix on one side, and these two fights we're about to discuss will determine the other semis in this Bellator Grand Prix. In this first one, Magomedov is the favorite. He's minus 160. Barzola is plus 135. I am really torn on what I want to do here. I've been hammering home on the show how well-rounded Enrique Barzola is, how he's trouble for anyone in there. And I'm tempted to pick him. But in Magomedov, you've still got a guy who in 20 fights has only lost to Piotr Jan and Rafion Stotts. So I'm just having a really hard time picking against that. Like, that's a hell of a resume. And his wrestling is so good. His kickboxing is certainly good enough to hang, in my opinion. He's really technical. He's light on his feet. And I think he's well-rounded enough that Barzola's well-roundedness maybe won't be able to shine quite as much as it has against previous opponents. So I don't think Barzola gets stopped. I even trust his cardio more across 5 rounds. And remember, these are 5 rounds in the tournament, so could get interesting late. But I'm going to go with a decision for Magomedov.
Okie doke. All right. Staying in the bantamweight division, Leandro Higo takes on Danny Sabatello in Bellator. Mark, let's stick with you here, and let's talk about Higo Sabatello.
So this is wild because the odds on this fight opened with Danny Sabatello. I forget the exact number. It was either minus 150 or minus 160, right? He is currently minus 550. That's how much money has come in on Danny Sabatello. The whole earth is betting on Danny Sabatello.
Dude, he's selling it, man. He's selling it.
He is now minus 550. Leandro Higo is plus 400. And I agree. I think Danny Sabatello is going to eat in this fight. Leandro Higo seems to end up on his back a lot in fights already. And boy, do I expect him to spend some time on it here. He is good off his back, but I don't think he looks that way against Danny. I think the pressure's too much. I can't see him finding a sub or scoring from his back. I think it's going to be more of the same from Sabatello. Takedowns, top control, pressure, pace, constant punches from the top. And I think he wins a clear UD. And I hope if both of the guys I just picked do win, Sabatello and Magomedov, that is going to be a ridiculous matchup in the semifinals.
Omar, you have a word to say about Higo Sabatello?
Yeah, I mean, Sabatello is an animal. I wouldn't pick against Sabatello at this point until I'm really proven to otherwise. Sabatello is an absolute beast, and the man can talk his shit, and boy, do I love it. So, listen, talk your shit, get in the cage, get it done, and let's go. Because you're absolutely right, Mark. I definitely want to see a Magomedov versus Sabatello fight. That fight would be on the ground 100%, and not a moment of it would be spent standing still. So I think it'd be great.
For a tournament that lost Sergio Pettis and then even lost Kyoji early, who was like a star there, if that tournament could end up with Stotts Mix on one side and Magomedov, Sabatello on the other side, I think they'd be pretty damn happy with how that still managed to shake out.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, gents. In the main event of Bellator 282, Mousasi versus Eblen, is Gegard Mousasi defending his Bellator middleweight championship against Johnny Eblen. Omar, let me start with you this time. What's your take on Mousasi defending his Bellator strap yet again?
I feel like I had thoughts about this when it was Austin Vanderford. I don't think I'm going to go through that entire tirade again. But we just need to get Gegard Mousasi somebody fucking real to fight. I don't want to disrespect anybody who's put themselves into these positions. This is obviously a huge opportunity for Johnny Eblen. Anything is possible. But this shit is crazy. It's Gegard Mousasi. Why are we not putting Gegard Mousasi up against top tier people? Why are we not proving to the entire world that he is the best middleweight on the planet? Or at least doing our damnedest to do so. Because the more people like this you put on his resume, the more people we're going to be like, who? You did who to what? You did what? It's a waste of time for Mousasi at this point, and it doesn't mean shit. It's another paycheck. I get that. Maybe he's just cool with that. But as far as the legacy goes, it's literally just a waste of time, and it's super upsetting. But here we are. Gegard Mousasi by however the hell he wants.
Okay. Strong words from Omar. Mark, agree, disagree? Anything else you want to add?
I will give a slight caution to people who may not be as familiar with Eblen, and this doesn't apply to me. I pretty much view him the same as I viewed Salter and Vanderford and so on. It seems like there is a bit more belief from people I'm hearing and seeing in Eblen as a contender than these previous guys. And the betting odds maybe sort of reflect that. He's only plus 200. I feel like those others may have been higher. I'd have to look back. But he's plus 200. Gegard is minus 250. Personally, how do you not pick Gegard right now? The dude is firing on all cylinders. I mean, he looked unreal against Vanderford. We know he can be beat by someone who can take him down and control him. Obviously, we've seen it in the past. Maybe we're going to learn that Eblen is high level enough to do that, but there is no reason to assume it right now without having seen it proven. And he is generally willing to strike. from what I've seen from him, and I think that is a big danger for him. Plus, Gegard, as we know, is someone who can scramble on the ground. He's honestly looked better and better at it as of late, at reversing positions. He gets slept on for how heavy he is on the ground. If he gets on top of you, you're in trouble. But yeah, he's slick as hell, and I just think he presents too much danger. I am obviously picking him. I will say Gegard by TKO round 3.
Dude, until Gegard's experience and Gegard's skill, when put together, you're going to be hard pressed to find a handful of people that can beat that dude. The only thing at this point that's going to fuck Gegard Mousasi up is time. As soon as this kid's body starts to go on him, that's when you'll start to see him not basically be the Gegard Mousasi that we know. But I don't think anybody skill for skill at this point, I don't think most people skill for skill at this point could give Gegard Mousasi a run for his money.
The thing that worries me is that sometimes I feel like if you keep fighting guys who are not on your level, at some point there's going to be a slip, and you're going to lose someone who you had no business losing to, and I'm going to hate to see that if that happens. I really hope this is the last one. I hope we either do, as I say, I know he's not as known. I think Tokov is worthy of a title shot. I think a lot more worthy than all these other guys. I'd like to see that, or I'd like to see Gegard just go to light heavyweight.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Really, I'd like to see him in the goddamn UFC, but obviously we can't have that. We can't have nice things.
Yep.
There would be so many fights for him in the UFC.
1,000.
And it'll never happen. It is so upsetting.